Good day and welcome to another episode of Distant Relatives. I am your host, T. Jamal, joined by my honored guest and dear friend, Afia Raina. How are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. Giving thanks for being here.
For those of you who this may be your first episode tuning in to Distant Relatives, this is a show dedicated to really exposing our culture and, just most people to the real tangible work that's going on throughout the African diaspora, and letting people know that when we talk about Pan-Africanism, when we talk about the African diaspora and unification, that it's not just a lot of words. It's not just lip service. There are people, organizations, groups who are actually dedicated to making sure that what we want to get to as the advancement and progression of Black people is actually happening on all different levels, on the ground level, at the organizational level, on the political level, and all these different spectrums. So this is the show that I bring in people that I respect and try to give them the stage to really let people know what it is that they do and how people can get involved and really what sparked them down that trail. So, Miss Afia, please let us know who you are and what it is that you do.
Well, I've heard it said before, when you speak of yourself, you have to make sure that people know where you come from. So I'm a seed of a seed. I'm a seed of George and Patsy, and originally from Atlanta. For all the Georgia peaches is here, hey. But I've been here, Atlanta, all the way to the West Coast, and traveled abroad. I live by this mantra to never, well, now with COVID, I don't know, but never spend 12 consecutive months on U.S. soil. Right. So always leaving, spending 30 consecutive days. I saved up my money every single year since 2007, and made sure that I would go and find a community of people of African descent wherever I traveled to, wherever I could afford. My plane ticket was, right, where I could find us living in a sustainable community or being extremely self-sufficient, not dependent on the majority. The minority, honestly,
Right.
For anything, right? Let's rewrite that. But essentially that's what I had been doing, and ended up getting connected with a group of elders, the African Community Sustainability Collective in Atlanta. And we said, okay, well, we want to tell more people about folks that are doing this work and how we can live, on our own and return to the way of our ancestors. And in doing that, we decided, okay, we'll bring together some people that are locally, some in Florida, some in Atlanta, and that was it. But when the group kind of dissolved, there was one elder that stood, well, let me not say one elder. Mama Nobantu stood tight, Nana City stood tight, and Mama Ya and Mama Atiba. And those mamas and myself, we pulled together the first Black Sustainability Summit that we had. And so I think that's why I'm here. Well, we've got to bring together people that look like us, that have been having their own communities.
I remember
doing their work.
I have the good fortune of remembering when you were putting that together. I was all over the place during that time. Wait, what was the first year?
Was it 2016? I think 2016.
Yeah. 2016 was during that magical period in my life where I was not primarily living in the States. So I was kind of all over the place. So back to that point where you said you have dedicated to get yourself out from American soil or not spend 12 consecutive months. And when you said that, I was like, have I done that? And I was like, I can say that since 2012, I have not spent 12 consecutive months here. But this year is about to break my record.
Yeah, likewise.
Because I don't know. if I can.
We can't get out.
Yeah, I can't get out. I'm kind of stuck and I don't want to be. But I want you to let people know what prompted that and why is it important for people to get out of their comfort zone?
Well, I mean, initially I was prompted by a professor, little Asian man, Casey Payne. I never forget him. BRCA people don't travel. I was like, yes, we do travel. Thank you very much. I have traveled, you know. He was like, well, I can get you to China and I can get you to go on a scholarship. I was like, oh, hook it up. Let me see. And he did. And I was able to travel. I did have to go in as a professor's aide. I went for a study abroad and I had to teach international marketing and all of that. But I got to spend my summer, you know, in China. And I ended up connecting with a Congolese group. It was so dope, and they showed me all around. Look, that was an experience, and they were just showing me so many things. I was like, you know what? I know I've traveled, but I never was very intentional about making this happen. And so I got to see our communities thriving in spaces where I never even considered them to be able to thrive. I see Mama. Hey. Yes, I had my fro out earlier. I had it out earlier. But yeah, and I was just really impressed by how well we were just like thriving despite all of the social norms that were just not in our favor. And I was like, you know what? I want to make sure that I do this every single year. And people think that you can't do it. They think that, oh, you got to have a lot of money. People used to always think, oh, my goodness, you know, how you must be making a lot of money. No, I wasn't. I was making a little bit under $30,000, to be honest. And I was still able to travel and support myself while I was traveling, because when I came with that spirit, every time somebody took me in. Not even on my own, like asking, you can come stay with us, you know, we'll feed you, and they take care of you. And it's that lack of love that you see on this side where man, you're just so grateful and you feel a part of a larger community. And it really helped shape my education, because traveling is the best educator, I can tell you.
So it's two things. One thing I want to go back to, and then one thing about just the traveling, but I'll get to that second. You talked about the elders who did stick around that kind of helped you formulate and do that first Black Sustainability Summit. You said mama this, mama that, mama, right?
Yes.
And so I've been doing this this series really the past week, talking about a woman's worth and really talking about women's contribution to the overall Black freedom struggle, and how to pull them from how we can rewrite that phrase of behind every great man there's a great woman to beside or alongside, you know. So speak to the people a little bit about the contribution of those women and how involved they've been, and any other women that have been, you know, inspiration to you in this path down, like just wanting to see Black sustainability and the role that they are playing currently with you and the roles that they have played in inspiring you to get to where you are.
Well, first, I give thanks to you for even putting that out there. It definitely has been something that I never really focused on. Intentionally seeing, you know, the mamas. I'm like, oh yeah, you know, we in it, we all in here together. And then you just start to see a pattern. And I had one sister just constantly challenge me. And I was like, no, that's not on this feminism tip. We all in it together. And she was like, it's not even always about that, even though she is a feminist. You know, I was like, well, it's about the African family, you know, we together. Mama no Bantu Uncle Wanda, give thanks and praises. This mama wears everything on her shoulder, her back. So when you talk about standing on the shoulders of those who came before us and being able to stand in the shade of trees that we did not plant, whew, she has planted some trees. She has from California all the way here with the Collard Greens Cultural Festival to just really being a sustainability leader. And now with the Pan-African Federalist Movement, this mom has been in every organization, on every single call that I can think of. And she told me, I want to support you. I want to support this vision. It was a vision that she initially had and was working with some other, elders to actually put it on, but it was still very much so, I don't want to call it narrow-minded because it wasn't, but it was very narrowly focused on a certain group that they had. And so she said, hey, you young, can you do something to expand it? And I was like, well, we should probably put this thing online and we should open it up to more of our people. And for all the folks that I know we've traveled to and connected with, let's open it up. I'm not a big social media, like we had 2,000 people hit that site the first year, and it was just off of search engine optimization that was done for the website. People were looking for this. So I give thanks to her for funding it. I built the site. She paid for the hosting. She reached out to a lot of people that she knew it was her weight behind her and for the work that she's done. And they really respected her. In addition to the people that I brought on, Nana City, Opio, apologies. This should have been part of our piece here. I need to plug this in. But Nana City Opio, who was dealing with holistic health and nutrition, and bringing our babies into this world, ended up being my midwife when I gave birth 2 years ago. So you talk about intersectionality, just a beautiful spirit. My fellow Leo mama, fiery, fully raw. And, everything is up on our website. So people want to watch their videos and presentations. It's still for free. I'm monetizing it very soon. Don't worry, but it's still free for those that want to get the information. And then Mama Ya Elohim, who's down in Florida. She did a phenomenal presentation on seed saving and the importance of doing that. And last but not least, Mama Atiba, another Leo mama of mine. I rock with some really strong Leo women. But she really has helped to bring together people from all sides. And oftentimes you'll see in a Pan-African community a certain level of separation or elevation, which, we know we have to make sure that we fight. She has really helped to dissolve that. Mama Nobody, we are all on the level playing field and there's no level of separation. And so I think that together collectively, everybody put their time and energy into giving the presentations, and I was there to help build it, and they were there to support me, which oftentimes is missed by a lot of our olders and our elders, is they're still trying to do that work. And I give thanks to them for helping to prop me up, and give me that foundation. So I'll stop talking now, but
that was like what you just spoke of reminds me a lot of my spiritual mentor, Ella Baker, because Fundi, is about being able to see the potential in the next generation and also being able to inspire them to follow along with their vision and not only see things as if they can be done the way that you were doing it, being able to see beyond even your sight. Oh, you guys have something else coming and it's going to be good. And it's just amazing because I think sometimes women are in a better position to be able to do that because you guys are not that bound by ego. So you will freely give to the next. Whereas I'm not saying that men aren't able to do this. I'm saying that we do have a burden of ego where, especially once we get elevated to these positions of titles that you talked about breaking down, we get stuck in them. And I try to run this organization, any group that I'm with, structural hierarchy is a necessary thing where you have order to things, but being able to run things in a way that everybody is of equal value is also necessary. And I think structural hierarchy starts to go out of its people start to take it on a little bit too seriously.
I don't know if you all can still see me, but for some reason the video is frozen on Jamal's side. He's really making a solid point. I really hope it wasn't my internet. Let's see. Well, if I am streaming and I don't want to mess up the show, I will fill these empty minutes with 10 seconds of distant run, as my daddy says. If you haven't read a book, here's a wonderful book to read, to the point that he was making earlier, just around Ella Baker and making sure that you're setting yourself up for success. I think the biggest piece for me was, I'm sure he'll come back in soon. I hope I can carry this. But the biggest piece for me was the fact that they did it in a way, those elders have done it and still do it in a way that really mimics what I was reading about today. We have a book club for the network that meets every single Sunday. And we've been reading this book by Baba Fukiao. And really the piece around your mothers giving birth, knowing that they put everything into you and all of the time and energy and love and care, not only before you come for their own temples and their own bodies, once you are conceived, and then as they continue to nurture you in the womb, then once you come out, it's almost like this relinquishing, like, okay, well, I've given birth to this. Let me continue to nurture. It might not always come out the way that I want it with my children. And to his point, dealing with the mamas, I think that's also a really great observation that he made, because it ties it in. I know for me, I like things done a certain way because I want them to have a certain level of excellence at all times. And it takes a moment to really relinquish that and to take a deep breath, because sometimes my daughter, she wants to do things her own way. So Jamal, I was trying to make sure I fill this up and we didn't lose a lot.
No.
I was just commenting on the Ella Baker piece. I hope I did the show some justice.
I was listening to you while my computer was doing whatever it was doing. Murphy struck again, Murphy's Law. So it strikes it's like every 4 episodes of any show that I'm doing on here is going to strike. And so I'm prepared for it now. So it's all good. But I appreciate you holding down that fort. But but what I was saying was I believe that structural hierarchy has its place, right? So that organizations and things can function in a certain level of order. The thing is, it becomes corrupted and toxic when people don't want to let go. And people, the positions and titles are supposed to be just to really give like a order of operation, so that you know who to report to, so things can be organized. People start to internalize it, and those titles become who they are, or they feel like they are who they are. Then that's when we really stop. That's when some of our organizations from the past become stagnant. That's when you stop seeing growth, and you start wondering why. Okay, what happened to the influence that they had? The influence that they had is that the ideas were fresh when it first started. The people were young. And now it's because the people have started to identify themselves by those titles, that they don't even bring in the younger generation. They don't even bring in the fresh ideas. And so I wanted to really bring attention and focus to that, on, the women that you just gave honor and credit to, and really understanding that our role in this Black family, even in the Black freedom struggle family, the dynamics between the male energy and the female energy are both necessary, because we balance one another out. I wanted to go back to the point that you were making. I said it out loud before so I wouldn't forget, about the traveling piece, and the fact that your professor said Black people don't travel, right? A friend of mine, Dana, and you met Dana, right? from IPSL.
Uh-huh.
So Dana, her thesis paper was on the lack of exposure of Black college students to study abroad opportunities. And so a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
times we don't travel because we just don't know. Like you had a professor who gave you an opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
I try to use this platform to, like, Afrikan Unity Initiative is about to launch some tours throughout the diaspora, Africa,
Mm-hmm.
Peru, Haiti, other
Okay.
places as well. So, because we're all about the diaspora as a whole, and I
Mm-hmm.
do want people to go to Africa, but just the travel piece of it's not really that difficult. We just aren't exposed to the simplicities of it. And when you talked about you weren't balling out and you still were able to at least keep your commitment of not being in the US for a complete 12-month period, just tell the people a little bit about what you found and how did you get exposed to it, and would you have been exposed to it otherwise if it weren't for like that professor or other opportunities?
Well, okay. Well, so my parents always, we didn't go every single year, but they would still take us. We went to Mexico and Canada. So we traveled, and we traveled a lot through the US. My dad, and my mom were really big on exposure through experience. So I do give thanks to them and shout out. I will say the international piece, for the length of time that it definitely scared my parents. And the fact that I was going by myself, and I've traveled by myself for quite some time. And I didn't understand why you shouldn't be traveling alone. As a female, I was like, everybody's just tripping. Like, it's fine. I'm cool. I'm gonna stay with my people, until I got to Colombia. And I went, this was one of the most, I guess this is one of the travel experiences that I talk about the most. So I'll share this one. But I think hands down, the best travel was when I was in the Congo. But I'm going to go to Colombia because there's a group there. You all know about the Maroons, about the Quilombos. Well, here's another Maroon group.
Palenque.
Yes, in Palenque. And so I got a chance to travel there. And I mean, I got off this bus. I'm traveling this long way. People don't want to talk about that. Oh, no, it doesn't. No, I don't know how to get there. I'm like, I know you know how to get there. You got to show me how to. They want to tell me how to get there. But through this whole little mix, I'm sitting at this cafe. This older woman is like concerned for my well-being. So she follows me off the bus, and she's like, let me try to help you get to where you need to go. And so the waitress comes. Of course, she's of African descent. Sister is there, like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. I can't find it. I don't know what it is. She came back and dropped a little folded piece of paper on my table under my. I'm like, is this a secret society? Well, like, what's going on? Long story short, I rode, I think, 3 buses and a motorcycle for the first time in my life.
Okay.
With my luggage. Right. I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm traveling. My Spanish is broken. And I ended up on this motorcycle going up this hill as the sun was going down, and his brother was coming down the hill, and then the guy on my bike starts slowing down, and I'm like, no, don't stop, please don't stop, like, please don't stop. I was having my epiphany there. Anyway, he pulled over, he stopped, and the other guy pulled back around, and they started arguing, and I understood in some broken Spanish they were arguing about me and all of that stuff, and I was like, okay, you know what? Take everything. You can have it all. I'm just gonna walk, And what I found, like, they just argued to the point where nobody got physical, but they forced me onto this other bike, and that bike took me up the hill. And I got there, and there was one person who spoke French, and my French, sadly, was better than my Spanish. And in broken French, the brother was telling me, this guy was supposed to be your ride. The other guy overheard him, got down faster, and took you. So when they were saying that's my woman, he meant that was my woman for the bike. And I was like, okay, oh, this is just so divine. Give thanks to the ancestors. It could have gone so poorly.
Right.
And when you go with that spirit, though, I didn't go with a spirit of fear, and I didn't go with a spirit of anything was going to happen to me. But I got up there, and I got a chance to spend time with that community where the way that they have been able to be self-sufficient has been, they do not let you stay there when the sun goes down if you're from outside the community. You better know somebody, you better be related to them by blood or by marriage. And I had a brother finagle some stuff, and I was able to sleep there at night. But everybody else that you saw tour, they had to leave. And I was just like, okay, I feel a little uncomfortable. I'm gonna leave after like 2 or 3 days. I'm not gonna stay for the whole time. But I got to stay up there, and then he traveled with me down and showed me some other things. But that experience, just to see the Kikongo language was still the main language there. They're not speaking Spanish. They're in Colombia. It was just, that experience was beautiful. And people keep saying, oh, you should write about it. You should do a blog. You should do a video. I'm the worst videographer when I travel because I'm having the experience. My camera is like this, and then I'm like, oh, and then what else happened? And then you just see the shuffling. So
yeah. Now I definitely feel you on that videography piece. We live our lives to please other people right now. And like, we are the same age and we are technically millennials, but we live like old people.
Yes.
So it's like we don't really relate to, because like I see so many videos of like, so you're at this concert for me to see it.
I'm just like,
when I was at Outkast concert, I did not pull out my phone once.
Right.
I was there to watch. So, but back to the Palenque, it was so dope that you got there. So I lived in Peru, and I was with this Afro-Peruvian group called Sadet, and their youth center is called Palenque.
Really?
Yeah, and they have relationships with all different, Afro, Latino organizations and groups and communities in South America, which, by virtue of me being connected with them, I will eventually work with. But it was just dope because I had heard of Palenque before I got down there. And the fact that they were, acknowledging it and then teaching their, young Afro-Peruvian people about it, the importance of it, and even just taking on that name was something just super dope. And the language piece that you just spoke about, and really how important that is. On this show alone, I've spoken to many people from Africa who spoke about how they've been, colonized to believe that speaking their cultural language is not cool, and giving that up to speak English. And just for me as an outsider wanting to know more about where I come from, and then having somebody who knows and take it for granted, just was almost like a slap in the face. But to hear that these people are holding and gripping tight on to the language that was preserved through the period of enslavement, through the transatlantic experience, is just powerful to just let people know that when you talk about your Black Sustainability Summit or the Black Sustainability Network, the fact that Black sustainability is real, right? It's something that can exist. We just have to be very serious about it and set our mandates. The fact that nobody can stay there after night, to make sure that they keep that, just the sanctity of the place.
Right.
Is very necessary. I also wanted to touch on another point when I was in Peru. So I've been having this internal struggle about this narrative about, Black men don't protect Black women, right? And then coming into, as a Black man, understanding male privilege, because sometimes as a Black man, it don't feel like we have any privilege. However, we do. Because when I was in Peru, people would tell me, don't go over to that neighborhood. I get to that neighborhood, everybody's cool because I'm like a foot taller than everybody and wider than everybody. And so everybody wants to be cool with me. And so just just being a male traveling alone is a completely different mindset.
Yeah.
Certain things I don't have to. Now, I'm always aware because of where I come from here in the United States. I'm always like looking over my shoulder, right? But at the same time, I know that like I move a lot freer, or I can get into a lot of different places. And what I've been doing in this, coming to realization of what Black male privilege is how do we utilize that privilege to give access to our Black women? How do we use that for a purpose, as an asset, instead of as a liability or a deterrent to Black women? So I just wanted to just bring that up to the audience watching, so that Black men who feel like because we're Black men and we go through so much, true enough, that we don't have any privilege, we do. And then, everybody does. Everybody has privilege in some arena. And the thing is, don't think of it as the white privilege can be used to benefit the movement, like it was used during abolition times, of them housing people who wanted to escape enslavement on the Underground Railroad. Now, it couldn't have only been done. Those houses weren't so deeply inspected because there were white people in them. So when we talk, acknowledging it allows us to be able to use it. I just wanted to address that, just for the sake of the audience, a lot of Black men, and we don't always see our part or our role in sometimes holding back our own people. And just to bring attention to that. But what I wanted to ask you is, you just told us at the beginning that, right?
That
what prompted you? What was your initial interest? Oh, me?
Well, I mean, I think for me, the interest came from this search for self.
What was knowledge your initial interest in the?
You all are about to hear my child run into this room. I just heard thunderclap. Here she comes. I apologize. It's clockwork. I know, baby. Come here. Come here. And she's been in the pool, so we had a wonderful day. All right. So here, lay down. It's a family affair, right?
I'm still on the stone.
I know. Okay.
Exactly.
It's on the stone.
Okay. Come on.
The
They can't see it. Just lay down. I got you. Okay. So, what initially sparked my interest in the diaspora was really this search for self. I think I went to. I guess I've always been interested, though. I think it was from a very young age. Princess, I need you to lay down for a second, okay? Okay, go get it. It's going to be a journey. I apologize in advance, but this is motherhood. I think it had to be.
Indeed.
I think it was Chancellor Williams' Destruction of a Black Civilization. I read that when I was in middle school, 6th grade. My dad bought it for me from the Shrine of Black Madonna. If you sit here with me, you have to be quiet. Do you understand?
Okay.
And that was I think that really opened my eyes. So, of course, my yearbooks had Sister Soldier, everything in it, because I'm up there telling everybody, you better learn yourself. You better know, look what they're doing. You indoctrinating me. I'm getting put out of class, not for my grades, but because every topic that I wrote about had to be, I was like, I will not be subjected to this type, and it was just, it continued to pervade. And so from that point on, I had to keep eating and keep learning. And so the reading, learning for myself, studying from other people was really the biggest piece for me. And that was it. Seeing that we were all a part of one body, and seeing that big gap that the Ma'afa created. And I think for me, that was the biggest piece. And from then on, it's just been a continuous journey learning. I don't know, can I share things on here on this platform, like put them in the chat, or for you to share on the piece there? Yeah. There's something that I think you likely already have it, so you might share it with them, but it's called the Sankofa University. Have you seen that?
I've seen it.
Okay. if you sit with me, you have to be quiet. And so this whole Sankofa University piece has everything in there for African-centered reading. Yes.
Okay.
Please. So I'm going to share this link with you, and you can share it with others.
Yeah, share the link.
I've just been sharing with anybody and printing it and sharing it with folks. Here, let me put it here. You can go to the drive. And I'm going to mute my phone as you ask me the next question so I can admonish my beautiful child for a second.
No problem. So I'm about to put this link that she just shared with me in the chat so that everybody can check out this Sankofa University. I have heard of it. I think maybe just scrolling down my timeline, I came across it. And I just support anybody who's doing any work in this realm to make sure that we're all in support of each other. The thing that I have consistently said, especially on this platform, is that I am so tired of the narrative of how we learn about our historic figures of, are you a Du Bois or Booker T. Washington follower? Are you a Malcolm or a Martin? And believing this idea that we cannot support more than one ideology at a time. And it is so necessary to be able to share the platform and see each other as collaborators, as a cooperative, and really join forces with one another, because we all are a piece of one giant puzzle that everybody has strengths, and my strengths may shore up some of your weaknesses. Your strengths may shore up some of mine. And then as we all start to come together, we can do so much more. We can cover so much more ground. And also, as we build up individual audiences, exposing each other's audiences to the platforms of one another only helps expand and grow that message. So I put that in the chat. I hope you guys click on it. I hope you guys, look into what they are doing and learn. A lot of resources are there. It's just dope that those things are happening. So I wanted to ask you, in your travels, you talked about traveling to the Congo. You talked about traveling in all of these places. Oh, before I get there, you mentioned in Colombia that people didn't want to show you or direct you to Palenque. I had the same experience in Manila, in the Philippines. I went to the Philippines specifically to find the Aita people, the Black people of the Philippines. And every time I brought them up, I was met with just this weird, I don't even know how to describe it. It was like just bringing them up made the Filipinos uncomfortable for some reason. And I never could, because it wasn't like they were on the mainland. The Philippines is a chain of islands. And so I would have to find the specific island, and then I couldn't really figure it out. And and I was there for grad school. So I'm asking the professors and the people at the university, I know they know. And they were just not being helpful at all. But I failed in my mission, whereas you actually accomplished yours. So I'll go back though. I'll be back.
Go back.
I'm going back.
It was a lot of persistence, and it was like this. If you know the history, when you know the history, not if, when you know the history, right, and you carry that, it was this. They want you to just stop, or they're not going to tell. I was like, oh no. That's what I came here for. So we're gonna find it, and you're gonna show me. And if you don't, I'll find someone else. And so it's beautiful. But I think for me, just knowing that when we talk about sustainable development, knowing that we have the knowledge and skill set that we possess currently, present day, and being able to go back and find out what we had done and why we did it. And there is nothing new under the sun right? Our people have done this, mastered it, and now it's being co-opted and given another name and sold back to you. And now, you know, when you're talking about the languages and everything, it's so much embedded in the language. You know, our brother Obadele Kambon talks about the importance of our culture, you know, being embedded within our language. If you're separated from that language, you're separated from the culture, right? And in the self-healing and therapy book, it talked today, we went over this chapter where when you understand that you can never be fully broken from your culture, it's like this underneath this whole piece of even what you may be aware of, subconsciously you're connected. So when you hear let the circle be unbroken, genuinely it will be unbroken, period. Right. It's just time for you to uncover it. So that's what this has been a journey of.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's one of the things that I like to tell people. People love to spout that Black Americans don't have any culture. Culture is in what you do. And a lot of the times, like you said, even if it's subconscious, even in the ways that we cook, even in the ways that we dance, even in the ways that we worship, no matter what religion, we do it different. We do it.
We put our stank on it. It's our own
and
little
so,
thing. I hate you so
right.
much.
And then when you actually get exposed to African ways of doing things and you see similarities, you're like, okay, now it makes sense. And so being able to draw on that as inspiration, but the thing about being conscious of that, what it does is it makes you want to protect it. And being aware of it allows you to not allow anybody else to define what you do for you. The same way that they'll see us dancing in music videos, they'll try to over sexualize it. But if we know the context of, no, that's a dance that my ancestors did, and it wasn't that, right? And so these are movements that we've always done. So now you don't live yourself by the definition that other people are giving us. And we're able to control our own narrative on the language piece. There are certain ideas and concepts that don't even exist in certain languages because those things didn't exist in that culture.
Exactly.
So in English, sometimes I feel like I can't fully express myself. And some of the things that come to my brain is like, I don't know how to say this because it probably doesn't exist in this language because the origin of this language didn't have that in the culture.
And you know, you have that lost the words. Yeah. You're like, what's the word? What am I trying to? It's not that. You know, it's this absence of. And I think that the closer we get to reclaiming and at least, you know, learning an African language, regardless if you can. Okay, baby. And at least, you know, you can find lay down. At least you can find. Look, she's a very verbal child. I love her. At least she's can
be a spokesperson.
Yes. She was telling me about the water cycle earlier. Okay, Ubango kids, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, just period. I think the biggest piece is understanding that not only were we, and as long as we continue to reject this xenophobic culture that we've been imposed with, we know that we had a ring shout, right? Didn't we have a ring shout? We had ring shouts back when we were enslaved, at least here in the islands, right? Where you would get together and know that we've all been broken from our center. So this is the one time that we give each other that reverence and respect. Please express yourself, because I don't see it as something that would limit me. It's just your expression of the Most High, the Creator, and how you connect with it. So I give thanks for it. It's another perspective, you know, and I think that in our travels, in our connecting, when we're talking about building communities, when we're talking about archiving our history and making sure that we're preserving this ancestral knowledge and wisdom, it's not one-sided. It's not just for one people, for one space. We have the same culture. We are talking about honoring different ethnic groups in the way in which we have done those things. And so we've connected with people across the globe that not only have that skill set, but have that same mutual respect for our people, a love for our people, and making sure that we know that we are a part of this planet. And that's where the whole sustainability piece comes in. Everything that we do honors honors Asasaya, honors Mother Nature, however, you know, it wants to be described.
No, that's dope, and it's very necessary that people, you know, kind of get exposed to that. The word sustainability is necessary because what it means is to keep something that is already going, to keep it and preserve it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we've seen things in the past, like we've seen moments of inspiration, of moments of unification across the African diaspora. Like the Haitian Revolution was one of those moments where the people were fighting with the mindset of the diaspora, not just themselves. They welcomed anybody who came to their island and declared to fight on behalf of them, not just for them, right? So there was a moment of that, but it wasn't sustained. It was a lot of things that kind of choked that out from the people because of outside sources, and of course being a lone solo Black, you know, nation in the Western Hemisphere. We've seen the influence of Jomo Kenyatta and Kwame Nkrumah go back to their countries and say that they were inspired by the Black Power movement, and really bring the idea of Pan-Africanism very strongly to the continent, where it's not just us who are in the diaspora longing to get back, but they on the continent are welcoming us back. We've seen those moments. We see a moment happening right now. The idea is not to just have the moment, but to sustain it so that it lasts for multiple generations, so that it is undying. The idea of not having it be an end goal. Because the thing is, when we put a timeline on things, or we think that, okay, this is the goal, once we get there, people stop working. What I feel like happened in the civil rights movement is that we got the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Bill, and then people start chilling because they were like, oh, we done.
Well, that's because also you have to be very intentional about your naming process, right? And when you give a name, you give a name. And so to define it as civil rights and not for what it was, and to be honest, unapologetic about that, was also a piece. And not to harp on it, because I do give thanks for the progress that was made, knowing that there's a lot more that needs to happen, and for all the different wrenches and diabolical things that happened that got us to where we were and where we are today. I do give thanks for the fact that our people historically, and even present day, tend to consider 7 generations ahead, right? And if you don't, you should. That way you don't lose sight, right? If I'm 7 generations, your work is never done. When your sun sets, you still have work to do as an ancestor to come back and prepare and to give that support to those who are still here doing that work for the rest of these generations that are to come. And so that's why you're more mindful about the things that you do, build, design, create, and structure, because you have to be that mindful. And that's what we've seen time and time again. How can these things that were just, mud and blocks be outlasting some of your skyscrapers and some of your man-made things, right? And it still has not damaged the planet, So
right.
These are things that are here, and it's divine wisdom. So you call it primitive or whatever it is that you like to call it. We call it divine, and we call it wise, and we call it that's our high tech, right? High traditional ecological or environmental or economic knowledge. So those are the pieces in it.
So we spoke about language, right? And we spoke about my personal experience with people on the continent, or people from the continent, who have, at a certain period of time, I'd say it was like the early 2000s when I first saw this, where people from Africa didn't want to embrace their language. And it comes from, thinking that the grass is greener on the other side. In your travels, because I've had these conversations with young people, and I've had young people tell me that America is a petite paradise, and, they can't wait to come over here. And I would have like long conversations with them in French and English, whatever language I was speaking. and just really break down, like, as a Black person, it is not what you may have been presented.
Yeah.
And, you know, so in the cases where if you have run into people and if you've had the opportunity to have these conversations, answer this next question. If not, just let me know. What is your advice? Or even if you haven't, what would your advice be for the people who their only goal in life is to get to the United States or Europe?
Love yourself. Love yourself. And love yourself. Love yourself. I've come across it many more times than I like to share, sadly. And that's the power of the media, right? What you see is not just what you see. It's literally imprinting something that is indelible in your mind state and in your subconscious, if not your conscious, right? And so we're fed with these images and this media consistently that tell us lies, and we know they're lies, television, right? You know, we're feeding that information consistently, and that's really the basis of the education that many people are receiving. And so to hear that and to see these, I got asked one time, do you have a boyfriend that's a rapper? You know, does he play basketball? I'm like, are you serious? How many times have you been shot? I was like, excuse me? How many times have you been shot? Like, I know you've been shot. You're Black and you live in it. I'm like, wait, okay, let's have this conversation. Like, I know that many people believe that Americans are very ignorant and unintelligent, but we're about to have another conversation right now because this is very one-sided. But yeah, the goal is, oh, you live there, help me get there. Get me a visa, let me come. And I'm like, let me tell you something. Your self-worth is so great where you are. You don't know how well you have it. And to talk about the importance of being in a space where everybody that looks like you, everybody can achieve. So despite colonialism, you're still in a better setup because you have those positive elements of reinforcement that are not consistently portrayed here. There's a level of there's a mass decrease of stress, you know, when you're in the, it's just like a whole weight. It's just like, oh, okay, I don't even have to think about it anymore. It's something that it's subconscious to a level, like you're just on high alert. You're in a stressful situation. You're at war consistently, and you end up on the soil. You're like, ooh, okay, yes, the person bagging my things, the person don't like. You are not going, the most you're going to do is probably take something from me, but you likely are going to do all of these things that you hear about and see here. And you're definitely not doing it from a place of just sheer detesting my existence, you know, and negating my being. So it's just, those are the things that they don't understand and aren't aware of. And so when you break it down, some still are like, yeah, whatever, I'm coming. I've heard great things. Enjoy yourself. When you get here, let me know, you know, because you'll get a chance to see it. But the biggest piece would be understand the value that you have. One beautiful thing I will say is that most continental Africans, definitely, and I say that because we are all African, right? But
love it.
Right. And most continental Africans tend to come back home, or they tend to send remittance, right? And that is how the country is still able to come. But when you come and you completely cut off and you leave, you not only have now dealt with brain drain, you've now taken a piece of the culture, and you aren't teaching your babies how to speak the language. How many have I come across that do not know the language? That I'm like, how? I'm trying to learn from you.
With two parents in the household who speak the language.
Don't speak it, won't know it, looking at me like, how you know that tradition? How you know? How do you know how to pour libation? And well, let me tell you, like and now I'm seeing this resurgence of the children to explore. And I'm like, but what happened to the parents? Don't want to even share it. So those are the pieces. Even if you decide to travel, don't disconnect, because you can definitely still give those jewels and those gems. We see value in it. I know I see value in it, and bring that up in my child and my family. To have that
value. That piece, I try to explain it to people who are from here. Like, it's a weight that we carry around as Black Americans that we don't even know we're carrying until we leave here, and leave here on a vacation, not leave here on a all-inclusive resort But when you put yourself in the environment of being on the continent and you just are there, it comes off of you. And you know how it is. Like, have you ever worn ankle weights or like a training weight vest? And you start to get comfortable moving with the weight vest on. And then when you take it off, you almost can't control your body because you're like, I'm moving a little too fast. But like, and you're like, oh man, I was carrying around this weight all this time. I found my smile when I moved back to Africa. I didn't even realize I had lost it.
That's it.
Because as being a black man here, I can't be too smiley in front of other black men because they'll think I'm soft. I can't be too frowny in front of white people because they'll think I'm dangerous. So I gotta like play double dutch with my face, depending on who and where I am, and it drives you crazy, and you don't even know that you're going crazy because it just becomes every day, right? And so that's one of the reasons that I just encourage people to travel. But I've had so many conversations with my continental African brothers and sisters, letting them know that please don't fall into the same trap of your whole family invests in you coming over here, and then you get stuck over here and you realize that it's difficult. And now you got to lie to the people at home that you're not struggling because you don't want to disappoint them. And just all this back and forth is so much. It's funny. My wife would, she had to go home and renew her passport last year in Guinea, and some of her family members, because she had been over here for like 2 years without going back. And they were surprised that she still, ate with her hands and did everything, that she was still a Ghanaian. And she was like, y'all tripping. I'm going to be me. I'm African in the United States. And so it was just funny because their expectation, they were so used to people coming back from over here, changed, allowing America to define or to like shape them into something else. And so it was just funny.
That's beautiful. And I'm looking at the question down below. I was looking at the question down below, but one last thing. I don't want to be a hypocrite. I don't want to be a hypocrite and not share that was one component of really what we have seen, you and myself have seen, for people really seeking to come and travel. Again, traveling is the best experience. When you believe those things, come travel. Don't come with the intention to stand. Come, travel, see, return, and take that knowledge and wisdom. And many get in the trap of saying they're going to return and look up 10 years later and they're still here. So I like to set those goals for myself, right? I'm not going to spend 12 consecutive months. I say, okay, 30 consecutive days I travel. Now I have found some places that I would love to put down roots and stay and live. And at the same time, understanding that for quite a few generations, our people have been here. And so our roots are also here in the States. And we do have work to do across the board. So it's not just, I think I was mentioning to you, some of our members of our network put up projects that they have. I hope I'm not jumping. Can I go over? Some of the people put up projects that they have. So there's a brother down in Jamaica with the Granny Nanny Maroons. And he posted up, he needed support. He needs $2,000. We were able to raise $1,500 to send to him. It's on the way. It hasn't gone yet, so I want to be clear, but that we were able to raise $1,500 to send to him to continue to revamp up a cultural space that's going to preserve the culture of the Maroon community that's there, right? But they want it done in a sustainable way. So folks come in and they'll put up projects that they're working on, or the sister in Angola, whatever, and we'll help to raise funds for them. What they find, though, is many of their community members have left. And they're not returning. And so we want to be intentional about supporting our brothers and sisters across the diaspora and supporting the projects that are here. So we're very clear and intentional, to your point around privilege, to your point around people coming to support, to your point around the youth. All of this is about being intentional. If you're intentional about utilizing your privilege to create a level of equity, beautiful. If you're intentional about the knowledge and wisdom that you've received, that if you don't want to return, you're intentional about support, come support us, support the Black Sustainability Summit, the network, join us once a year, where we bring together like minds, or join us every single day and connect with us to share how we can build up our communities and to work on projects that we are consistently receiving, where we need more and more people with those skill sets to contribute to it. So it's a double-edged opportunity.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you this. Let the people know about, so we talked a little bit about the Black Sustainability Summit. And before we get to the network, the summit is an actual annual conference, right? And it's
Yes.
a virtual conference.
Yes. And well, it's been virtual and in person.
Okay. It's what do they call those? Hybrid conference.
It's a hybrid conference. Yes.
Okay. So tell the people how they can get involved, how they can present, and just a little bit more about how the summit actually functions.
Okay. Well, so it's different when we do it in person. So I'm going to start with the virtual, because that's what we always have a virtual component. The virtual component is free. We have 3 different levels for folks that typically are involved, whether you're an enthusiast, I just want to learn more, whether you are an expert, you have a specific skill set, you would come on as a presenter, or whether you are an entity, you're an organization that has been doing this work, right? So you can come in for either one of those three levels and join the summit. Every single year, the virtual summit has been online. And every other year, we have an in-person component. When we have the in-person components, the same way that we have online, we bring together like minds from around the globe that'll talk about eco-friendly building, how they've done it. You actually are getting a workshop. It's not just a lecture where you hear somebody explaining what they do. You are actually watching them do this work in real time, or showing you a presentation on how you can actually do it. That's one of the biggest critiques that I've had of conferences, where I'm like, that's great in theory. I want to know how to do it. Can you show me how to do it? Because we are kinesthetic learners by nature. And we're consistently trained to learn in different ways, but the best way to do it is to put your hands on it. You won't forget it. So our in-person summit is very workshop oriented. I think we did maybe 35 workshops when we were here in Atlanta one year. We're planning on going to Ghana this year in October. We can't get in, so we will be postponing it to next July. And we'll be having like a shorter summit this year, October 17th and 18th. But we bring together folks from around the globe that focus on specific areas of interest, and they actually host workshops that train individuals that are participating how to do it. We had a bamboo building workshop. Folks got to use the tools, build something, understand the concepts. There was classroom, and there was outside hands-on where we harvested bamboo and did it. You'll learn about water quality purification systems. You'll learn about catching your own rainwater. You'll learn about solar energy, how to build your own solar panels from scratch in your backyard, or how to hook them up. What else have we done? Intentional education for our youth and for our adults, right? Holistic health and nutrition. I mean, I can go on and on, but our website, granted, if anybody out there wants to volunteer, please come and build us a website. I built it from scratch. That was the first year Mama Nobantu asked for help and support, and I have not updated it since then. I've updated the information, but it hasn't updated the structure. But it's very basic, right? You can get on, you can become involved, you can join, you can register to attend the summit right now. October is still up there, which is fine, because we'll still be having an online component there, but shortly it will change, likely after this call, for the virtual summit. And then for next July, that information is still there, where we will be traveling to Ghana and actually touring, going through 9 different regions of the country, and showing you not only how it's been done, but actually touring and supporting the grand opening of Kazi, which is the Kwaku Ando Sustainability Institute, being erected in honor of the ethnobotanist, Dr. Ando, who Habasha has given honor and reverence to. So this is a sustainability institute. It's a grand opening for Habasha Foundation in Ghana. And we'll be taking folks to other places also around Ghana to see other practices. So we'll be doing like a solar install for the school, solar installation for the hospital so that they can actually refrigerate things. We'll be helping to build a standalone system. I could go on and on and on. I'm going to be mindful of the time. All of that information is on our website. And okay.
Nah.
And yeah, that's.
Now that came through the audio.
Okay.
So
you see it's getting a little dark. I have a lot of natural light in here, but
I know, right?
Let's see. I left her
So
food out there. Okay. All right.
The summit, so that is the Black Sustainability Summit, and you guys can see blacksustainabilitysummit.com scrolling down at the bottom of the screen, back and forth. So please go out, check it out, be a participant, be an audience member, however you want to engage, please engage. And Miss Afia Raina isn't on any of the social media platforms that you guys know of because she has the Black Sustainability Network, which is a dope platform built for us. Tell us more about it and how can people join and how can they get involved?
Yes. So what's scrolling down at the bottom underneath for the Mighty Networks is the link to join us on our own social platform. Initially, we asked people to go to blacksustainabilitysummit.com and join the network. There's a little button up at the top to join the network, just so we'll have that information and we can stay in touch with you. But if you want to join the network, the social page for our African brothers and sisters, those of African descent, it is a space in which we share and exchange information. We promote our work. We ask for support and help. We also are sharing a lot of wisdom nuggets, different articles and things like that on there that are specifically related to how we can continue to be self-sufficient. So it's an unapologetic site. It's an unapologetic space. I wish I had the time to get on other platforms. I just do not. And I want it to be intentional to make sure that we are creating a space for our people. We do have a page on a BB Toomey. I just have not been able to get in it, but we also have a page there if people are on a BB Toomey. But for us, it's blacksustainability-network.mn.com. And we encourage people to join us and to join the discussion and to interact with other people around the globe. The platform has different levels. There's a paid level, a paid function where you can get greater access and connection to folks. And then there's always going to be a free option because we know our people need to be connected and they don't need another barrier, especially those that are abroad that,
right,
you know, a US dollar could translate into 900 of their dollars. So this is not about money making. This is about information exchange and elevating each other, to your point. Jamal, so give thanks.
Yeah, no, that's definitely necessary. And I wanted to make sure. So you said that you don't have the time to be on the other social medias. Who cares? Because if we are always on those social media sites complaining about them deleting this post and they're not fair and they deleted my page, now we have a network of our own. So are we going to support it or are we going to keep going to other people with our hands out and complaining when they slap it down with a stick? Like when we have our own, it is up to us to support it. So go join, look at the information below and make sure that you join and hold up. I'm about to put the information in the chat just so that nobody can have any excuses about, oh, I didn't have the link or I couldn't copy and paste or I couldn't. The scrolling was going too fast. All right, don't worry about it. I got you. I'm thinking about all of it. So in the comment section on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube, here are the links to the networks. If you are serious, we appreciate you guys tuning in and watching, but we want you guys to support the people that come on this platform. We are here to let people know that Pan-Africanism, a global African perspective, the African diaspora, unity is all possible. Not only is it possible, not only is it theoretical, that there are tangible ways to get involved.
Mhm.
There is something that you can do. There are activities to do. There are conferences. There are trips. There are all these different ways to engage within the African diaspora, get more information, be more knowledgeable, that we have to take it and we have to support those that we get exposed to. Exposure has been another key word in this episode. We have sustainability as a key word, exposure to opportunities. Sometimes we just don't know, but when you know better, you're supposed to do better.
Mhm.
So that is the mandate that I leave with everybody. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and there are also projects for folks that want to volunteer, right?
Indeed.
People come and they ask, sometimes they don't even need money. They just need people that can help support them. So we're creating our own, almost like a skill-based cooperative, right? Where we're sharing those skills. So that was just one thing I wanted to add. If you wanted to get involved in specific projects and volunteer for any members of our networks, whether they're organizations or individuals, there's an opportunity and there's an opportunity to learn from those experts and connect with them based on their geographic area.
So one thing that I wanted to say on the tail end of that, do you guys see that that's cooperation, that's collaboration? She said organizations, individuals. That means that these organizations are going to this one network, this one platform, and they're on there together, not opposing one another, but working in conjunction with one another, in support of one another. This is possible. It's possible for us as Black people to not see each other as competition, right? And that's one of the most unhealthy things that we've learned in this Ma'afa, in this colonization mindset, in the enslavement mentality that we are breaking ourselves from. And I love the direction that this new, generation is approaching this work from, and this Black freedom struggle. I've never really called it the civil rights movement or the Black power movement. It's all the Black freedom struggle. And you can date it back to however, far into the past or however far into the future that you want to go. And yes, it's a struggle, but it's a beautiful burden. And if we all carry it together, then it gets that much lighter. Yeah, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Please actually click the links. I put them in the bio. I also put them in the comment section. So there are really no excuses for anyone not to get involved and not to do your part. So now that you are exposed to new information, to new opportunities, please take them and do your best to just be involved. We really need it. We appreciate it. And I always end by letting you guys know that this channel, this platform is hosted by Afrikan Unity Initiative. We are a real nonprofit organization doing real work across the diaspora on the ground. So if you visit www.afrikanunity.us, and that's African with a K.us, because it's about us as a people. And, we could use your support, and we're going to always be an open platform so that who else is out here working in the African diaspora as well. Any last words?
I give thanks to everybody tuning in. I'm giving thanks to you for having this platform and for being so intentional about connecting with others that are doing this work. Is actually our tagline for this year's summit is collaboration for liberation, is exactly what you talked about. The fact that there's so many of us doing this work that are not aware of others that are doing this work, that we create that opportunity and that platform for people to come through and see. And it's not just sustainability from the sense of environmentalism, right? It's around our
Right.
people being able to be sustained. That includes nature, that includes our babies, that includes our homes, that includes our food, it includes our water and our air. And so we are very intentional about that and bringing together those who have been experts in those spaces, those who want to become experts, and those who want to contribute to the liberation of our people. I give thanks for this platform and give thanks to each of you, and hope that you all do join.
Until next time, I've been your host, T. Jamal. I love you all.